Hey, this is Tony Cook, and in the news, everybody's talking about the first steam locomotive release. It's from ScaleTrains. It'll be branded Fox Valley models, and a lot of folks know it from its MTH trains heritage. So that's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But so I have brought on today Matt Gaudynski from who's with ScaleTrains now. His Fox Valley brand is incorporated into them. So first, Matt, hello, welcome. How you doing?
I'm real good, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing very well, doing well. This is an exciting release. I think when is ScaleTrains going to do a steam locomotive has been maybe the question since the big blow came out as the first model. Will they do a steam locomotive? And here we are. So first on I did an unboxing recently on those wonderful little 2-bay hoppers that
Oh,
are
good.
Fox Valley, and I'd forgotten how nice and how well done that little model is. And so let's, if we could, explain kind of the logistics of it's this tooling, it's ScaleTrains, it's Fox Valley, because some of the while it's great for a collector like me, because years from now I can say, well, it went from this to this to this. That so give us the lowdown on how, what, and why.
Sure. So, as everyone knows, ScaleTrains purchased MTH line of tooling, and that included a pretty wide range of HO and S scale tooling. And in there was obviously a lot of steam engines, which, as you noted, a lot of people have asked for, especially the Class J. But also in there are some diesel engines, some passenger cars, some freight cars, and it kind of varied across the line. So, incorporating this into ScaleTrains branding, what we did was we took the first 5 freight cars, which were in the MTH kind of train line or train set branding, and those lent themselves quite nicely to go to the Kit Classics line. So all those have been produced and released so far. As you noted on the 2-bay hopper, they had a handful of cars that were pretty nicely
Mhm.
detailed. And once you start getting into that stuff and the steam engines and the diesels, you got to find a place to put it, and it didn't quite fit in the operator brand of ScaleTrains, and it didn't quite fit in the rivet counter brand of ScaleTrains. And since they acquired Fox Valley as well, that seemed to be the perfect home for it. So the Fox Valley brand is kind of a bridge between operator and rivet counter.
Huh.
The stuff that doesn't quite fit in either category will find a good home there.
Well, that's awesome. Let's take a look at. I'm going to bring up here. We'll share the screen. This is the first announcement, as you mentioned, is the MTH tooling N&W Class J, and it will be coming out in 3 different versions. And first, if you could tell us, for folks that wonder, DCC and sound, obviously, will be one, and then there'll be a DCC ready. But
That is
could you
correct.
give us some of the particulars as far as what has changed or what's different for the new run, or what you're working on for it?
So obviously we inherited a lot of this tooling, and much of it's going to be used as is. There's not much to improve or change. If there is, obviously we'll take a deep dive into it. But the biggest change on these is the changing from the MTH electronics going to ESU sound. A lot of people familiar with ESU and DCC in general. So having new sounds available, new decoders available, easy to program, easy to use for everybody's layout, should be a very big plus for everybody. Other changes, we're adding a speaker to the boiler and LED lighting. We're changing the way some of that operates. As I understand it on the MTH um, line, when you ran the engine, the cab light would go off. The class lights weren't as easy to control. Now these are all individual functions on the DCC system. So you can turn the cab light on and off if you'd like. The class lights we're cycling through where they can be off, they can be on in white, or they can be on in green. So some just little enhancements here and there where we can make it a little bit better.
I'm excited by the speaker being there's that extra speaker now up in the boiler in addition to the tender. I think that's really going to kind of
It's going to be
spread
an
out.
interesting experiment. It's something we wanted to try. Obviously, low and high frequency sounds change, and if you can think you're hearing the whistle from the engine and the lower chuffs from maybe the tender where the big bass comes from. It's a nice size speaker in there. We think it sounds pretty good so far, so we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. There's a YouTube video out that I think Drayton test runs an early sample with James Wright. I'll put a link in the down in the
Sure.
description on that. This is there's the as built, and these are very late era steam, basically, right? The very beginning of World War II to 1950.
Yeah,
I
the
think
first ones
this.
were built in 1941. They built the first batch of 5 of them, and from there they just kind of kept improving the designs, as you will. They built a second group of 5, and then the last group of 3 was built in 1950. So they're all pretty modern steam engines, as it were. As they were built with spoke pilot drivers and multi-bearing crossheads. The next group went to solid pilot drivers and alligator crossheads, and that was to be remain all the way through to the end. And the last group, obviously, solid pilot wheels and alligator crossheads. The tenders differed slightly on the last 3. The first 10 had a slightly rounded tender back to it, and the last 3 had a square back tender to it. We do have both versions available
Oh,
there as
nice.
well.
Very cool. So that's the difference in the early and late, and then the Spirit of Roanoke is actually that's contemporary, isn't it?
That is the most contemporary version. Obviously, 611 was the only one saved, thank goodness. It did a nice stint in starting in 82 for the Norfolk Southern Steam program, retired again, and then brought back in 2015 for another round of excursions, and that's when the Spirit of Roanoke lettering was added. Pretty much the same as all before, but these have dual headlights on both the front and the tender,
Wow.
just like modern applications are, so you can run your modern excursion engine.
Very cool. And speaking of modern excursion, you're also going to have a group of passenger cars under the Fox Valley brand models brand that'll go along with these as well. Can and these also are former MTH cars. I think this is one of the only out of all the stuff I collected, I always remember these coming out, the various passenger cars, but I think it's one of the only things I never picked up. So I'm eager to see them because I've never seen samples of these cars before.
It's
The-
such a pretty train, and I'm so glad that they did these back then. And the cars are basically unchanged. The only thing we're enhancing pretty much here is the lighting. Previous lighting bars across had 2 lights in them, kind of the fore and aft end of the car. We thought it was a little dark in the middle, so we added a third LED. So now the cars are a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer, and just nice cars all the way around. So
They look spectacular. So they have interior LED interior lighting,
mhm.
looks like nice flush fitting windows. I mean, these are and obviously scale length smooth side cars. And this first release of these will all follow in this pretty. Is it maroon? Is that the correct thing to say for NW? That is a maroon
I
color,
always
right?
call it maroon. Some people
Yeah,
call it Tuscan, but either
yeah.
one's just fine. But yeah, N&W essentially bought 2 new train sets for the Powhatan Arrow, and we're basically modeling one of them. We have the original train set was 5 cars, and they obviously added coaches as needed. So we're adding a couple extra coach numbers as well. So you can build a 5 up to an 8-car train for this round if you'd like. And then we'll do new numbers when we run them again.
Wow. Now all of this, we're hitting the pre-order right now, May 6th, which
Correct.
somehow I don't know how that's possible, but May 6th is right upon us. This year is just shoo, right
It goes
past us,
fast.
doesn't it? So May 6th is the pre-order on these, and then estimated arrival is late this year on the passenger cars and
On
the
everything.
steam,
So
everything.
we're going to be It's going to be pretty tight, but we're aiming for the end of the year. I'll be, like you said, pre-orders are due on May 6th, and we want to try and put our purchase order in and on May 7th. We want to get the factory going on these and try and get them as close to the end of the year as possible.
Wow, very awesome. So this is go down the DCC ready version. I assume all the electronics are in the tender as far as adding a decoder if you wanted to?
Actually, most of it's in the boiler. The only things
Oh,
in the tender are the speakers and the
okay.
lights for the backup. Almost everything else is in the boiler.
Okay. Pricing is on their website, of course. You can order direct, reserve yours now. May 6th, again, is the deadline for these Class J 484s, probably one of the most talked about locomotive releases from Scale Trains all time. So Fox Valley models via Scale Trains, Norfolk and Western's Class J coming in 3 different versions. Early, the late, and then the city of Roanoke is also, so you got 3 options there, sound and DCC or standard DC, DCC ready, and then those wonderful passenger cars. And the passenger cars, I think, retail for like 80, or you're selling them for like 89.95.
That's
And
correct.
then we'll take a look right quick here. There you go. It's 424.99 for the standard DC, 524.99 for the DCC sound, which boy, for a steam locomotive of this level in today's market, That's a good deal.
It's not bad.
That's not a
Not at
bad
all.
deal. Matt, thanks so much for your time today. I know everybody's looking forward to these. Hopefully they'll be running around Christmas trees by the end of the year. Your orders need to be in by May 6th. That's what's in the news today. Matt Gaudynski from Fox Valley Model ScaleTrains. Thank you, sir, for an update on this very
Anytime at all.
exciting release.